Welcome to another day in the Matrix, waters above crypto. I'm wishing you all a beautiful start to your week, sending you all love and high vibrations. In today's video, I'm going to expose some big connections to the Hebrew calendar and repetitive patterns that I've found in the cryptocurrency charts. We'll explore the esoteric connections between the price action of crypto and the corresponding dates on the calendar as it ties into Gematria Numerology and Astrology. Then I'll jump into the charts of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, do some technical analysis for the rest of this week. Also later today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time Zone, I'll be going live with Coach JV over at 3T Warrior Academy for a podcast. It will be live streamed on his channel, so you can catch us live over there. I'm looking forward to recapping our recent collaboration we just wrapped up yesterday called the Great Awakening Bootcamp. We did 4 presentations each over the past 4 weeks. Each week was over 1 hour long with no time wasted. We held nothing back, and it was so beautiful to see the energy between our communities. And since so many people have reached out to me asking about signing up to that Great Awakening course, I just wanted to let you all know that it will be packaged up and ready to go on sale soon, and I'll make sure to update everyone when it's available. So if you're new here, we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out. And make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And for those of you that want to learn how to do technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, you can join my Mastermind course. The link to my website can be found in the description box of this video and in the pinned comment below for access to the Mastermind course. And with that being said, let's take the red pill. So, this date is very special, May 17th, 2022. It is actually the 137th day of the year, and the reason that number is significant is because 137 is the 33rd prime number. And those of you that are studying esotericism, gnosis, and all the things going on with numbers and numerology probably are aware that the 33 is very, very profound, and it has a pattern that shows up in many ancient civilizations, not only just in Freemasonry. So this 33rd number to me is all about transmutation, turning water into wine, turning lead into gold, alchemy. It's really an interesting number once you start to break it down a little bit further. You have the 32 vertebrae in the spine, leading to the 33rd being the pineal gland. So it's really special, and I'm sure that you guys can go ahead in the comments section and break it down a little bit further. Anywho, if you take from this date, actually, considering May 12th here for a moment, you actually can see that from May 12th over to September 26th is 137 days. And the significance behind September 26th is it is Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year. And this will be the date that Shemitah ends. So I'm sure most of you are aware now, if you've been following my work, we are in the Shemitah year. For those of you that are unaware, every 7 years in the Hebrew calendar, we have something called Shemitah, and that corresponds with all the big economic booms and busts. So every single time we have big financial chaos in our world, it's around this 7-year cycle, and we are in that 7th year today. So I'm going to start using the end of Shemitah as a gauge moving forward, because that's been very helpful in my work, showing you from the start of Rosh Hashanah to today. But we're going in reverse now, and I'm going to need to start doing this as we get closer towards September. So with this being said, you could see that May 12th over to September 26th equals 137 days. And if I was to go on the charts, you're going to see that May 12th was the low in our micro cycle so far. So if I zoom in, that was a big flash out, and you could see that Bitcoin has held the 30 to 29,000 area, pretty much going on like a full year now. So this moment of flashing through this area, there was a lot of technicals that aligned with that, and I've gone over this last week, but we did backtest the 200 exponential moving average. That's pretty key when we're talking about the weekly chart. And we'll keep it short regarding the analysis and get back to the numerology. But this flash out here was clearly to liquidate, and that was on May 12th. So again, taking from May 12th over to the end of Shemitah equals 137 days. So that's all about that big 33 number, the 137 being the 33rd prime. And what was so interesting about this specific date, remember it's 137 days before the end of Shemitah. XRP actually hit 33 cents on that exact date. And a couple of charts also showed that Algorand hit 33 cents on that day as well. Again, proving the importance of the 137 as the 33rd prime. XRP hitting 33 cents on May 12th, which was 137 days before the end of Shemitah. Amazing. So I'll show you just a couple more instances on the charts, one of which on the Bitcoin chart we have here, going from this low right here, which remember we had this big crown distributional top, which led to a big sell-off into May of last year, almost the same repeat that we've had this year. And this low right here on the 20th of July was a bear trap. It got people thinking that we'll keep going lower because of this perpetual downtrend, multiple daily candles, and lots of low volume. And then right when we back tested this triple bottom structure, boom, takeoff, and we took off straight into the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Okay, the Hebrew calendar is so important when you're studying this market. So off of this low right here, you could actually see that if you take from this red candle of the 20th and you bring it over 137 days, you have this flash crash date liquidation candle of December 4th. So this 137, again, super powerful. Okay, and let's again take from Rosh Hashanah right here, and let's move it again 137 days. And you're going to see into this 137 day area, we actually did trade on this exact day into 33K. So if you look right up here at this L, and then I'll hover my chart right here, and then you could pause it, you'll see 33,855 was the low. Remember, this over to here is 137 days. 137 is the 33rd prime number. From the day of the start of Shemitah over to 137 days later, Bitcoin within that time frame hit a new all-time high and then got manipulated perfectly to the 33K area around that time. That's pretty mind-blowing, and that definitely solidifies. And I'm sure even if you take off of this on the candle body closure to here, look at that. So if you take 137 days and you go off the candle body closure from the start of that trading day to the end of this trading day, it's 33%. This 33 number is massive, guys, and you need to pay attention to it. And one more esoteric thing to bring up. This date that this happened on was the 22nd of January, which is the 22nd day of the year 2022. And we're currently in this Hebrew year of 5782, which reduces down to 22. So, of course, this all aligned with the 22nd day of this Hebrew year, which reduces down into 22. And this is all measured off of Rosh Hashanah, the day that this whole cycle started. 137 days into the Hebrew calendar, Bitcoin goes down 33% exactly. I mean, it's just too much. Remember, I told everyone on Satoshi Nakamoto's 47th birthday to expect Bitcoin hitting 47,000. And look, April 5th, Bitcoin hit 47,000. This entire market is manipulated by this code, and I hope today's video solidifies that even further. And I'm not even done yet. I have more to show you guys. So let's take the Gematria side of things and type in Rosh Hashanah, and look at what we get. We get 43. And the reason this 43 is so important is because if we go to the day of Rosh Hashanah, this day right here, you can see the start of Rosh Hashanah. Bitcoin was actually trading into a cycle high. It just went up straight line all the way up to 53K. And look at where it closed the day off. It actually traded all the way down into 43K on that day. So again, if I just hover this here and you look up to where it says L, you're going to see it says $43,220. Bitcoin traded all the way up to this price, but then flashed down to 43K perfectly on the first day of Rosh Hashanah, when Rosh Hashanah in Chaldean numerology equals 43. Undoubtable. You really cannot doubt this. And remember the significance behind the 43 in all of my work this year, with this 43 being the last score of the recent Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Los Angeles Rams. And remember what happens on Rosh Hashanah. They blow the Rams horn, the shofar, and that's why the Rams won the Super Bowl in the start of Shemitah, because it had everything to do with this number sequence, okay? And this 43 connection also ties back to LVI. Remember, it was Super Bowl 56, but if you just take the Roman numerals L, V, and I, that adds up to 43. This was all designed by a code. This is a false reality in a sense, where it's completely coded in. Whether it's organic or not, it's irrelevant. It happened, and it happened by these numbers. So one of the other things that's interesting about the word Shemitah is it could be spelled another way. In English, this is the lesser popular way of spelling it. But if you were to type Shemitah out, I usually type it like this, and this is what I've been sticking to for the year. But I just want to further identify the 43 here within Shemitah, written as such. So no matter how you cut this up, you're coming back to these important number sequences. You could see that 43 in reverse full reduction, just like we were talking about how Rosh Hashanah equals 43 in Chaldean cipher, and Bitcoin traded down into 43K, which was the start of Shemitah. It's powerful stuff. Remember, 43 is the 14th prime number. 14, again, divisible by 7. This all has to deal with the sevens. And one of the key notes about the start of, or the end of Shemitah this year is the date numerology. The way I like to do it will be a 77. That's pretty powerful stuff, guys. So we need to pay attention to that, of course. So now that we have this 43 on our minds, I'm just going to explore this a little bit further and take this till the 23rd of May. And you could see from the 23rd of May over to the end of Shemitah, you get that 4 months and 3 days. And I'm considering this as a powerful date because this day leaves 222 days in the year. 222 in the year 222. And this again ties back perfectly through that 43 sequence towards Rosh Hashanah. Now, one other connection to be made here is the date numerology adding up to 70. And when we write out Shemitah, the way that it's the most popular English way to write it out, you have 70. Again, date numerology, 70. Shemitah in English ordinal. This is the most basic Gematria cipher. ABC equals 1, 2, 3. You could see that down at the bottom of the screen when I hover over this number. Now, this connection goes even deeper because 4 months and 3 days equals 18 weeks. And not only do we have that 70 connection in the date numerology coming back to Shemitah, but this being 18 weeks and Shemitah equaling 18 in Chaldean. This 18 is huge in Judaism. It's a very, very important number, and it definitely deals with connection to the money as well, because they're giving out gifts in sequences of 18. So go research that a little bit deeper. I also did a full-blown Shemitah decoded video over on my Patreon. So if you join my Patreon, you'll have access to that and all of my Red Pill podcasts as well. So I'm really interested in this date coming up. You guys can mark this in your calendars. This could be a pretty powerful date. It will also be a Monday, which is the day of the moon. And we know what's been going on lately with Terra Luna. Again, Terra meaning Earth, Luna meaning moon. There's definitely something deep to get into there. I might touch a little bit on that deeper in this video. So we went over this connection on the 23rd. One other thing to consider as well as the day before this date, the 22nd of May, will be 4 months and 4 days leading into the end of Shemitah. So anytime you're seeing these numbers, this is a power number. This 44. You have 11, 22, and 33 are your master numbers, and then you have that 44 is the power number. So definitely interested in how this is going to go as well. Now, one other thing to mention before we wrap this up is May 30th will be our next new moon. Okay, and we know by now the new moon, not the ones that are eclipses, but just the standard new moon, is typically a bullish energy in the market. And I think this is going to be really important for you guys right here, this little tidbit of information. So this upcoming new moon date will also be the 77 date numerology, which matches the 77 date numerology of the upcoming Rosh Hashanah. Now, one of the things that I think is really interesting about this connection is this will be exactly 119 days. And you guys see this 119 is the mirror of 9/11. And what happened on 9/11? The towers fell. The towers were destroyed. So when we mirror that number and turn it into the 119, perhaps we have the towers are being rebuilt, okay? So over the past week, we saw a lot of chaos in the market. We saw what happened with Terra Luna and with UST, the stable coin. The towers fell, okay? They fell for the lunar eclipse, which happened 2 days ago. This all led into that energy. The towers fell, and perhaps as we lead closer towards our monthly close of May, the towers get rebuilt on the 119 date. And I wouldn't be surprised if leading into first quarter moon, we do have some bullish energy. That would be like the first week of June. That'll also be near the end of Mercury station retrograde. And with that being said, as we get towards the end of Mercury station retrograde, the market is usually bullish. Not at the beginning of Mercury station or retrograde, but near the end. And that's something that I've said plenty of times by now. I had a couple people mention that I said that Mercury retrograde is bullish the whole time. I've never said that. I said that they typically end bullish. That's a huge difference. And when we have that aligning with our upcoming new moon, after the market has been extremely oversold with an extreme fear reading in the sentiment of this market, if you add 2 and 2 together, any sophisticated technical analyst or someone who sees this market for what it truthfully is will know that there's a relief rally in the making. Now, when do we time this relief rally? It's nearly impossible, but we could examine a little bit more of that. All I need to say is we saw the Luna ritual, the Terra Luna ritual, based all around this eclipse and what it did to the stable coin pegged to it. And I believe that this was a huge sign of a planned collapse, and it's probably the harbinger of events to come regarding stablecoin regulation and more things regarding regulations behind crypto in general. So I'm not going to touch too much on that in today's video, but I'm sure by now we could all kind of add up that we're in Shemitah year. And this is the kind of stuff you should expect. You should expect to see a top crypto coin go to zero, essentially, during this year. I've been warning people about this year for a while now. Now that we're here, we're seeing the chaos, okay? Now that we're here, focus on financial security, okay? It's very, very important. It's been something I've been preaching for the longest time now. So I'm really kind of considering this 119 connection to Shemitah ending. And Rosh Hashanah starts the 25th, it ends the 27th. So you could be considerate that this 119 could be a window of time, okay? Give it from this 28th, 29th time, because you know we have time zones change all around the world. When it's the 28th of May in America, it's the 29th in Australia. So just be open-minded. This isn't about being 100% precise. This is about just being ready for big volatility in the market. Okay, just like I got everyone ready for the Friday the 13th and the eclipses that just passed. I was very adamant that that energy around eclipses is no joke. The market could get very, very interesting. And now that we've seen that come and go, I'm sure anyone who protected themselves and protected their capital, as I did, were probably just chilling and relaxing. Anyone who was overly risk on, or a little bit over leveraged, you know, if you're getting emotional towards these big swings in the market, you just need to take that as an experience, a lesson learned. Don't feel like you lost anything. Being an investor is a long-term journey. It's not a sprint. So let's move on to the charts. So we broke down that 137 pretty well, and I'm definitely interested to see how this is all going to shift in. I mean, it would be mind-blowing if by the end of the day Bitcoin went up to $33,000. I doubt that's going to happen, but you never know with this crazy market. You know, the moment the market closes, we can easily see Bitcoin pump up when the stock market ends. And I mean, that would only be about what, a 10% jump. I mean, it's possible to happen within the next 24 hours for sure. Not saying it will happen, but so when we're analyzing these Mercury retrograde boxes that I have drawn out here, you can see clearly that the last one, we dumped within it, and then we actually recovered towards the end of it and had a pretty big green candle, 11% green candle after the last day of Mercury station retrograde, and then we went up an additional 20% at the end of it. So just consider that. Look at the iteration before that. We went into a new all-time high at the end of Mercury station retrograde. Here, we were very choppy, but still within the end of it, about, let's take how many days? About 6 days or about 1 week before the end of it, we ended microcycle top, okay? So even though this looks choppy, we still hit a microcycle high within Mercury station retrograde. Further example of the point that I made a couple weeks ago. Here, we just blasted through the entire time frame. Here, straight line up and then led to new highs and broke a macro all-time high. Bitcoin broke its all-time high for a 3-year downtrend cycle, what people call a bear market, after Mercury station retrograde. So just consider this, and also we had that solar eclipse here, which set off the energy in the solar cycle. So there's so much astrology tied to this market. I love learning more about it. I love exposing it, but I want people to be more open-minded towards it, because a lot of people who are getting into this stuff, they're having a difficult time like allowing it. They're so, concrete and physical in their nature that they don't want to open up to the spirit realm. And cryptocurrency and all of this quantum economy in general, it has nothing to do with the old system. It is the new system. This new system doesn't operate on the same principles as the old. And what I mean by that is this fiat currency and all of this stuff, it's getting transitioned out. And this market never cared about anyone's emotions to begin with. So when we're in these big sentiment cycles, right now we're in a very fearful based part of the cycle. The most sophisticated investor takes advantage of this time. They don't get upset. They don't get angry. They look at anything in the red as an opportunity. So I just want people to get their head straight right now, because this is the time out of all times where the most millionaires are made. It's because we have the best buying opportunities. I'm not talking about today necessarily. I'm just talking about in the long-term time horizon. It would be much better building positions on some of these extremely oversold coins today for the next 3 to 5 years, rather than it would have been last April when everything was inflated substantially, okay? And we know that as a fact now. So let's see how this is going to go. I do think there's something to be said about this chart right here, and I believe I can revisit this and you guys could see what's going on here. So I had this chart exposed on my Patreon before we even flashed down to this 25,600 area. I'm going to run through this really quickly because I already touched on this in yesterday's, or the Red Pill podcast that I did a couple days ago on Patreon. But with this white line, we've been really gravitating towards this white line every time we break above it. And every time we decide to release from it, we have a pretty substantial bounce, an average bounce of about 38%. So off of these lows, I've been measuring towards the averages, but it doesn't necessarily mean that 38 is the low. We've even seen right here off of this wick to this high right here, it was 70%. Okay, I'm not saying that's possible, but from a 25% flash up 70%, that would put Bitcoin around $43,000, which would put us into the average bounce range off of retesting the line. Okay, so if I take from testing the line up to here, you can see that's about 38-40% ish, which is within the average when measured as such. So this is really interesting, because if I turn this into a area chart, it doesn't even look like, you know what I'm saying? This is the daily closes. People who are new to crypto, it might be better to look at your charts in area, okay, not in candlesticks, because with the crypto market specifically, people get very emotional during the wicks, and I've seen people make the worst trades of their life on the wick, okay? People entering at the worst time, because they're not zooming out. Try to control your emotions with this market. I know it's hard for some people, but when you look at it and perceive it the way that this is set up here with the area chart, you're going to see why this looks so much cleaner and a lot less emotional. It doesn't have those huge volatile wicks. It could also be helpful for people who are doing day trading if you're looking at like a 4-hour chart, because those closures are what matters most, not the wicks. I know some people get lucky and they catch wicks, and that's fine. But if you were to add up and stack up the amount of wins versus losses, it's going to be much more losses than the people who win, because they're being much more conservative about their trading style and their trading thesis in general. So I like how we've gravitated back towards this line, even though we've had a couple daily closes below it. It's showing me strength at this major support level. Bitcoin flashing to 25.6, that was a backtest of the weekly 200. So let me just clear all these drawings and pull up the weekly 200 moving average. And if I was to turn off and put on candlesticks, you can see that this green line, we flashed down to it and actually bounced. So one thing to say though is this weekly closure we just experienced was on a new low. This is a confirmed macro downtrend at this time. You can see that the weekly low going back to July was somewhere around 31,700. And if you compare to 2 days ago, this closed on a macro low. We're in crypto though, so please be, cautious with analyzing based off of stuff like this, because crypto can do crazy things in very short time horizons. Even here when we saw this bear trap, no one was anticipating this bounce the way it was. This community was, though, because we knew about Shemitah. We knew that this is a cyclical cycle, and you just have to play it off the cycle, not play it off of your emotions. Okay, so let's just quickly look at the daily and see what we have going on here. And I'm going to go to this blue chart. I feel like it's very helpful when we're doing our analysis. I have stretched out the fibs going from swing high to swing low, and the key area right now would be any gravity back to the 236 and seeing how Bitcoin interacts at that level, because that will be the level that used to be the prior support. And if it flips resistance, that's not a good sign. That's a huge move from here as well. That would be additional 20% off this level that we're experiencing right now. And it would be this cluster of trading coming back in here. That is another reason why you would want to be cautious in this area. And Bitcoin is just being pushed around by the stock market right now. And as Bitcoin gets pushed around, it's going to affect all the altcoins. We know this by now. So that's something to consider. And when it comes to macro high right now, it would probably be these 200 simple 200 exponential moving averages, which is crossing below the 5 fib, heading towards the 382, and that would also solidify a lower high, meaning that if Bitcoin traded back into the 200 simple moving average and got rejected, it would be at a lower high. Not good, okay? So we have to just allow what's happening right now. Other than that, de-risk accordingly if needed. If you're somebody who's worried about this market sliding back to the lows, or even sliding lower to the macro structural low, which would be around 20K, you have to do what's best for you and your portfolio. Now is not the time to mess around, okay? I've been in this market now for a long time. I bought all my Bitcoin below $8,000. I've already de-risked my Bitcoin a year ago. So I'm just coming out here and doing this to help people. If you're new to this market and you're newly trading it right now, you're just getting in, this is not a time to really be getting fancy, but it's also not a time to be messing around, okay? What I say with that, to just quickly solidify, don't trade things that you're not able to lose, okay? Like, you've heard this before. If you can't afford to lose it, don't play around with it. Let's look at the Eth chart. Really, it's the same story. This 236 was a prior support. It got broken, and now we would want to see it flip, not as a resistance, but just flip above, start closing dailies above. That would be closing dailies above $2,400. Until then, these 200s would be the nemesis for any upside price action. This is holding structure though, as opposed to Bitcoin broke downside structure. This held the lows on this wick. It just retested this triple bottom over here. Okay, so this is very strong on ETH, and it's showing this is a little bit more of a sophisticated asset comparatively to all the other altcoins. And now that Luna has flushed out, again, it's solidifying its position here. ETH likes to move really quickly when it's ready to move, and then it will get very boring when it needs to get boring. And I believe that's kind of like what made it more sophisticated. It's not as, let's just say it's not as sexy as stuff like Shiba Inu, so it's not going to get that type of retail attention that something like Doge or Shiba or any of those other things would get. And it's making me much more long-term bullish on ETH because of that. But anyways, this 236 level would be the level to gravitate towards. If this flips as a resistance level, it'll be the same circumstance as Bitcoin. You'd consider it returning back to the levels. Since this market has given up most of its gains today, that's a sign. You see the DXY right now is down 0.74%. Lots of volatility in this market today. So XRP, one final note about this is this red line that I had here. I was very adamant that if we broke below the 888 fib, we would flash down to this red circle. That's actually where we came down to, even slightly lower into 33 cents. And now that I don't want to call it a bounce, but now that we've bounced sort of off that level, again, same story. I am hoping this 888 doesn't flip into a resistance. What was a support, we do not want it to flip into a resistance. But I don't like this 44-cent level becoming our resistance. Remember what I brought up about 44, the other, at the beginning of this video? We were talking about, I think it was the 17th or 18th. Yes, so the 21st, this date being the 4 months and 4 days till right here, 22nd. 4 months, 4 days. That would be really interesting if XRP can clear that 44 cent around that date. It's something to keep in mind. But I do think XRP has hit 45 cents a couple of times in the past couple days. So it's just sort of recovering off those lows. And with RSI getting into some extreme oversold territory down at 20, I mean, it's literally just as low as the C-word crash, if not lower. So this thing is very, very suppressed. And for people who are long-term holders in this coin, this probably would have been a little bit of an area to reaccumulate more if you're somebody who has de-risked in the past. Again, not financial advice, but just looking at this in the long term, XRP isn't going anywhere. So I do believe today is going to have a lot of volatility ahead. We need to see how this market's going to look after the stock market closes. The fact that we're seeing such a big, rejection on the DXY and almost a full 1% down on this candle, it's putting a little bit of pressure on the crypto market, considering that crypto was up about almost at 31K today. That's very odd because typically when we see lots of red in the DXY, it will bring green to cryptos in the stock market. But what I suppose is happening right now with the DXY is it's selling off too quickly. So we get these panic sell-offs in all assets at all the same time. The stock market opened up about an hour ago. This is kind of par for the course. So let's see how the rest of this day plays out. And clearly, Terra Luna has been problematic for people. I wouldn't even bother looking at any technicals on this thing so far. But a lot of people were calling out how they've made these legendary moves where they bought these wicks and then, whatever. Off of this recent wick right here up to this level down to where it is today is 77% down. So anyone who is trapped up here at these 4 closures, you're still 60. What I'm trying to say here with this is please be careful with this asset. I get it. People think that they could buy the dip on this and they're going to become millionaires. I was reading the comments on CoinMarketCap yesterday or 2 days ago on my Red Pill podcast, and I was just laughing about it. Like the way that these retail investors think it's going to go. This structure has yet to stop. So you want to buy a bullish structure after it's shown itself in a bearish chart, like if you're going to buy something that's completely oversold, that's okay, but be careful with your capital. But if you think this thing is just going to resurrect instantaneously, I'm sorry to break it to you. The people who thought that this thing was ready to just bounce right away, and yes, it went up 3,000, 5,000%, whatever, but then again, an additional 75% off the lows. If you got trapped in here, there was better opportunities in other places. So I would consider a small position in Terra Luna if you're trying to play that game, like the shitcoin game. But during Shemitah, I wouldn't get too crazy with that. Okay, guys? So please be careful with this market. I don't want anyone getting involved into shiny objects, Pay attention to the things that matter most. Right now, it's de-risking portfolios if you're in profit. If you're somebody who's completely new to this market a year ago and you're down from where you started, consider this opportunity, okay? This is just part of the long-term journey. So I hope you guys found this video today enlightening. I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day. I'll catch some of you later on the live stream that I do with Coach JV over on his channel. Appreciate every single one of you. Much love.